Yeah, thank you, Sister May Flor. And again, good afternoon po sa inyong lahat dyan sa UK, sa Madrid, at sa Palma and Cape Town. Yan. So, last week, na-miss ko kayo, pero hindi nyo ako na-miss kasi pinakinggan nyo yung teaching ko dun sa live sa Facebook. And I told Mark, I wanted to continue that kasi the teaching that I gave last night, I don't know, I know Sister Anna was able to listen. It is a continuation of that talk. So, I wanted you to hear it as well. So, para continuous yung ating study and practical application ng the book of Judges. And matagal ko nang nababasa si Gideon, but this time talaga I have learned a lot from him, and also most especially I learned a lot yung ways ni Lord are truly unfathomable. So that is what I would like to share with you, is the continuation of that teaching. So um alam ko there are a lot of times that, in our life, there are things that does not make sense. Diba? I'm going to give you a few seconds, siguro you'll be able to think of times na, bakit ganun ang ginawa ni Lord, diba? It does not make sense. For example, when yung mga business, yung may mga business, diba? You've prayed for a business, and then nag-push through naman siya, but all of a sudden, parang bakit hindi na nag-work out, or yung iba siguro, nasara na yung business. And we asked Lord, bakit? Lord, pinag-pray ko naman to, binigay mo, and then this. Okay? People also that have cancer, nagtatanong sila, bakit kaya siya? Kasi, or bakit ako? Nagsiserve naman ako kay Lord. Or bakit siya? Ang bait-bait naman na tao. Or healthy naman tong taong to. Or yung mga sudden death na, bakit ganun? Especially yung mga parents na namamatayan ng mga anak, 'di ba sinasabi nila, it's unimaginable na mauuna pa sa yung anak mo. And those things really does not make sense. Or, yung um, when you are very active in the community, tapos doon ka din mismo aatakihin or pagchichismisan, or may mga kung anong sasabihin sa'yo, or sometimes when you ask God for help, for guidance, tapos hindi niya iba yung ginagawa niya, so it does not make sense. Or minsan maganda naman yung intention natin sa prayers, bakit kaya tagal-tagal na hindi pa binibigay ni Lord? And see, when those things happen, we ask, why does God seem to be doing this kung alam ko naman na pwede naman niyang gawin ito? Diba? Bakit ganun siya kumilos? Pwede naman siya ganito. Or bakit siya late? Pwede naman niya akong sagutin. So, the ways of God are really hard to understand. Who agrees with me? Diba? Ako sa tagal-tagal ng journey ko, hanggang ngayon talagang it's hard to understand. And in Isaiah 55 verse 8, diba? Sabi niya, for my thoughts are not your thoughts, and my ways are not your ways. So the way kayo mag-isip is different from the way I think, sabi Lord. Or the way niyo ginagawa ang isang bagay, iba ko ginagawa. And so we're going to again look at nga yung life ni Gideon as a continuation of last week's teaching. And makikita natin, di ba, when he traded his fears and his doubt for the peace of God, he was able to rise above the challenges that came his way. Okay? Kaya finally, itong point na to that we're going to read, we're going to learn about Gideon. He already has overcome all his fear. He believed that God is going to fulfill his promises. And so talagang he already gathered all the fighting men of Israel, kahit wala siyang experience sa war or is going into the battle. He courageously called in all the people, and then they are now ready to take on the Midianites. Hindi na siya nagtanong kay Lord. He did not ask for more signs. Okay, but he just went out there and ready to fight. But see, God throws in a twist in the gear. Okay, he is going to do something that totally does not make sense. Okay? But siguro ang question nga natin today is, bakit ganon? Why does God do things that does not make sense? He is actually determined to show Gideon, okay, and also the people of Israel, that the impending victory that they're going to experience is not going to be because of their own strength or their own power or their own battle plan, but it's going to be all because of him. Okay? So yung title ng message natin is What Can God Do With My 1%? Or what God can do with 1%. Okay, so let's read Judges 7, okay, verses 1 to 8. Judges 7, 1 to 8. Okay, the Lord told Gideon, sorry, ayan. So Zerubbabel or si Gideon and his army got up early and went as far as the spring of Herod. The armies of Midian, which is yung kanilang enemy, were camped north of them in the valley near the hill of Moreh. Then the Lord said to Gideon, "You have too many warriors with you." Okay, sabi mo nga sa katabi mo, too many. Yeah, kung wala naman, tell yourself too many. Okay, so the Lord said, "You have too many warriors with you. If I let you fight the Midianites, the Israelites will boast to me that they save themselves by their own strength. Therefore, tell the people, whoever is timid or afraid may leave this mountain and go home." So 22,000 of them went home, leaving only 10,000 who were willing to fight. So the original number ng army ni Gideon was 32,000. Okay, but the Lord sent the 22,000 home, so 10 were left. Verse 4, but the Lord told Gideon, okay, there are still too many. Okay, so siguro this point ngayon, kung if Gideon did not trust God, he was probably asking, Lord, teka muna, parang di ka ata marunong mag-mathematics. Okay? Ano bang nakuha mo sa math mo? Kasi parang medyo mali ang calculation mo. Okay? So there are still too many. So again, tell somebody or say this with me. There are still too many. Too many, too many. Okay, so bring them down to the spring, and I will test them to determine who will go with you and who will not. When Gideon took his warriors down to the water, the Lord told him, divide the men into two groups. Okay, in one group, put all those who will cup water in their hands and lap it up with their tongue like dogs. So yung derecho sa stream. Okay, and then the other group, put all those who will kneel, okay, down and drink with their mouths in the stream. So only 300 men, say this with me, 300. Yeah,
300.
300. Yeah, 300 of the men drank from their hand, and all others got down on their knees and drank with their mouths in the stream. Then the Lord told Gideon, with this 300 men, okay, from 32,000, this 300 men will rescue, I will rescue you and give you victory over the Midianites and send all the others home. So Gideon collected all the provisions and the ram's horns of the other warriors and sent them home, but he kept 300 men with him. Yeah. So the Lord told Gideon to reduce the number of his fighting men. Okay, so God only wants 1%. Okay, say this with me ulit. 1%. Okay, so
1%.
you only want, yeah, 1% of the original fighting forces to left, okay, to go against the mighty Midianites and their allies. Okay, so kung sa tingin nyo this is a crazy idea, it's definitely a crazy idea. If you think this does not make sense, of course it does not make sense. From 300 from 32,000 men down to 300. It's not even 10%, but God only wants 1%. Okay, so 300 men to go up an army that the scripture tells us na they are as thick as the locust. Okay, when Gideon surveyed his enemy, uh, Gideon wasn't, he had to, parang, it was so spread out that hindi niya na makita yung iba. Okay, that is how many they are. As a matter of fact, in chapter 8 of the book of Judges, sinabi yung exact number, which is 135,000 men. Okay, so they are going up against 135,000 men. So outnumbered talaga sila. Originally outnumbered na sila. Binawasan pa ni Lord, 300. So parang 450 to 1 ang ratio. Okay? So parang sinabi na ni Lord sa kanila, ito na ang katapusan nyo. Okay? Humanda na kayo, manalangin na kayo, lahat ng Our Father sabihin nyo na, kasi ito na, this is it. Okay? So it seems like that's how God wanted it to happen. Okay? So if this happened to Gideon, when the first time we met Gideon in Judges 6, okay, when he was hiding in the wine press, when he had no confidence, he had no courage. He was so scared. Takot na takot siya. Okay, he would probably draw back. He would probably give excuse after the other. telling Jesus why this plan is a no-go plan, why this plan is not a good plan, why this plan is a crazy idea. And he would probably be complaining again and ranting again to God. But see, from last week's teaching, we learned that, you know, Gideon was called by God a mighty warrior. Okay, and from this, it does not make sense any already. To begin with, it does not make sense for God calling Gideon a mighty warrior, because he is not a warrior. He is not a soldier. He's not even under training. He's not even a reserve, but he is a farmer. Okay, that's why he was found in the wine press. Okay, but then, he's also not mighty, not close to being mighty. He even said that I am actually the weakest and I am the least in my clan. And inamin din niya that I have no courage. I am, confidence, and I am full of fear, and I am full of doubt. So, but when he traded his fear for the peace of God, this is where, or that brought Gideon to where he is right now in chapter 7. Okay, this time he does not question God. This time he does not rant. Okay, this time he completely was on board with God. When God gave Gideon 300 men, he is ready to rock and roll. He was ready to fight. Okay, so God is a God of 100%, of course, right? Even more, right? But he is also a God of the 1%. Okay, God, he often works in the midst of unthinkable odds, or against all odds, sabi nga, diba? And oftentimes, like I said, his ways does not make sense. And it can feel completely counterintuitive sa atin, or contrary to our common sense. But he tells us flat out that I don't do stuff the way you do stuff. Okay, that's not how I work. If you think that 32,000 men will get you victory, that's not how I work. No, I only need 300 men. I only need 1%. That's all I need. See, because God can work with just 1%. Okay, tell somebody, God can work with just 1%.
God can work with just 1%.
And I think, and that is he can do great things with 1%. He can do unimaginable things with 1%. He can do what he can do with 1% is beyond what we can ever dreamed of. Okay, and I think this is such a good news for us today. That in the times that we are knocked out, okay, in the times that we feel that this is it, there's wala na akong mapupuntahan, okay? I am in a dead end, or when we feel the lowest, when we feel that we don't have anything in our hands, that nothing makes sense right now in our life. I know because of this pandemic, there are a lot of things that really does not make sense. Our God can use those situations. Okay, God can use those moments and turn it for our good. Okay, so if you are in that moment right now, if things in your life does not make sense, just look at that 1% in your life. Look at that thing that does not make sense. Um, look at that feeling that it seems that God is doing something that you don't really understand why, when you know He can do this, diba? Parang, alam ko, Lord, you can provide. Bakit hindi ka mag-provide? I know, Lord, you can answer my prayer, but how come you're not answering my prayer? So just look at that 1% in your life and watch what God can do with that 1%. See, in Gideon's situation, the logical thing to do is to gather more armies, the largest possible army. 300 is not, it's not it. It's not going to do it. Okay. But that isn't God's way. So we often think that bigger is better. Diba? That more is better. Example, a bigger TV is better. TV. Okay. Dati, satisfied na tayo sa ganyang kaliit na iniikot mo pa yung, 'di ba, yung knob para lang mapalitan yung channel. Ngayon kailangan 95 inches ang screen, 'di ba? Para talagang nalalaki na yung mata mo ganun sa sobrang laki, because we think that bigger is better, right? Or more, like more money in the bank is a better bank account, okay? And so on. Okay, yes, bigger is better, but not always. Not always, because God can work with 1%. God can work with the small things in our life. God can work with the less in our life. I mean, for God, 32,000 wasn't better than 10,000. Kaya nga sinabi niya, ay, masyado pang marami ang 10,000. Gawin natin 300. Okay, so 10,000 wasn't better than 300. And of course, 135,000 wasn't better than 300. Okay, see, with God, 1% is better. With God, smaller is better. But our human minds, okay, does not agree with this. Okay, this isn't better. This is not a good idea. This is not logical. This does not make sense. But see, Gideon saw what God can do with 1%. Okay, he saw what God can do with 300. Okay, by the end of this message, we hope, okay, that we see that the 1% in our life is sometimes better. Okay, because now Gideon has full on faith of the God of the 1%. He had faith that God, who over and over has shown his faithfulness, will continue to show his faithfulness, will not stop showing his faithfulness. And ganun din tayo. We should have full on faith with God because he has never failed us. He would always show us his faithfulness. He would always show us that, you know what, I'm here. No, I'm doing something you might not understand, but I'm doing something. You know, I am the God of the 100%, and I'm definitely the God of 1%. Okay, so he trusted the plan of God. Okay, that he said that if this is God's idea, whether it does not make sense, okay, whether it's a bad idea for me, okay, I know this is a better idea. Okay, this plan is the one who's going to take us to victory. See, but trusting God can be a scary thing. Okay? Diba? Trusting God can be a scary thing. Let's admit that. Let's be honest. Kaya nga tayo hirap na hirap magtiwala sa Panginoon minsan eh. Okay, first is because it's hard to understand His ways. Okay? Second is because when we trust God, we have to what? Give up control. And we want control. Human nature, we want to be in control. We want to be able to figure things out on our own. We want to be able to, to to find a way out of our trouble. Kailangan tayong gumawa. Okay? And see, more so, trusting God when He is doing something that feels unsettling, or it's confusing to us, or it's against our human common sense, or reasoning, against our comfort zone. Trusting God becomes harder. Okay? Trusting God becomes harder. There are times that the Lord will put us to a place of weakness. He's going to weaken us. And there's nothing bad about that. Okay? He's going to bring us to the minimum. Why do I say that there's nothing bad about that? It's because that is when God will show what He can do with the 1%. That is the time when God will show what He can do with our weaknesses. That is the time that God is going to show us that, I created this impossible situation of human weakness so that I can get the glory back, so that you can trust me, so that you can rely on me, and then I get the glory back. See, God is most honored in our weaknesses. Okay, because because we get to rely on Him. Actually, we need to rely on Him and Him alone. Okay, and that is the process of the 1%. Why God allows, or why God tells us to go from 32,000 to 300 men? That is why God brings us to our weaknesses. That's why God brings us to our minimal, because that's the process of 1%. Before God can show us what He can do, before God can reveal to us who He really is we have to be able to only have 1%, and then trust God with that 1% and rely on Him. See, the Lord reduces the number of Gideon's soldiers from 32,000 to 10,000. And in verse 2, sinabi ni Gideon, you know what, Lord, that is too little, okay, for me to fight. He was already thinking that, oh no, we're really gonna die in this battle. What is God doing? You know, but the Lord told him again, he still has, he still has too many. Okay, what was God thinking? Okay, why did God say that 10,000 was still too many? Okay, minsan ganun din tayo, we ask the Lord, why? Why are you doing this way? Lord, nag-share si sister ginawa mo ng paraan yung problema niya, bakit hindi mo magawa ng paraan yung problema ko? O bakit mo binigyan sila ng gano'n? Ako, hindi mo pa ako binibigyan ng ganito. Why did you let me have this and now you're taking it away from me? Okay, but in Judges 7 verse 2, I want to read it again. The Lord said to Gideon, you have too many warriors. You have too many warriors with you. Okay, if I let you fight the Midianites, the Israelites will boast to me that they have saved themselves by their own strength. See, this is the Lord's speciality. Okay, this is how He works. He's going to bring us again to our weakness. Still too many, gotta cut it down. Okay, and then He will work things out for us. Okay, He will show us what He can do. Okay, He worked with 300 men, He worked with 1%, and today He's also working in our weaknesses. He's also working with the less that we have. He's working with the minimal. He's working when things don't make sense. And we know that when God, puts His hand on things, when God puts His hand in our life, the outcome is always good. The outcome is always great. We may not see it yet, but will tell us, our faith will tell us it's going to be something wonderful. It's going to be something awesome. It's going to be something extraordinary. It's going to blow my mind away. Okay, because that is who God is. If we believe in this principle, okay, of the God, that He's a God of the 1%, and that He's doing something with our 1%, and that He could do the best with our 1%, then our smallness does not matter. Okay, our weakness does not matter. The things that we don't understand right now does not matter. Okay, and this is a good principle that we need to apply today. Okay, because we actually want more, or we look for more. Diba? Lord, more money, more resources, more doors, more opportunities, ano pa, more blessings, more favor, Lord, more breakthrough. But see, sometimes maybe the Lord just wants us to look, or maybe the Lord just wants to give us more faith. He is working faith in our lives. He is showing us more encouragement. Okay, that in our lowest time, that is where we're going to hear a lot of encouragements from the Lord, a lot of promises from His Word. Maybe more trust. The Lord just wants us to look to Him again. Maybe medyo nawawala na yung attention natin kay Lord because everything is going great and everything is going fine. So the Lord now is going to put us 300 only, or going to give us 300 only, or 1% only, so that we could, what again, focus on Him. Okay, and His promises. See, it's hard to truly rely on God when we have many wonderful things in our hands. Diba? Do you agree? It is hard to be big, to be better, okay? And then at the same time to rely on the Lord. See, when we're getting all this credit, okay, we're getting all this applauses from man, it's hard to give the credit back to God. Okay, so we still get the same message today. The same message to Gideon that God gave is the same message that God is giving us today. Sometimes, maybe in our lives, there are still too many. There are still too many. That's why God is going to just give us and leave us with 1%. Okay, He will bring us to those moments in our life that it feels like hell has broken loose and we don't know what's going on. See, this pandemic is probably one of those times and moments that God is taking the whole world to that 1%. Okay, now we don't know what's going on, we don't know what to do. Okay, that there, He's bringing us to those moments that He's going to ask us to do something that does not make sense, and we're like, Lord, it, it does not make sense. Ako now, I'm in my 1% in actually two areas of my life. That dalawang 1%, so 2%. But you see, that's where God wants me to be right now, in my 1%, because He wants me to just rely on Him. Okay, where it does not make sense, God wants us to bring us to the point where it does not make sense. But what do we do when it happens? Again, trust. Tell the person beside you, trust. Tell yourself, trust. Preach to yourself, trust. That's the only one we've got. Okay, we simply need to trust Him because He is perfect. Perfect. He's perfect. He loves us with a perfect love, and therefore He will never do anything, okay, that will be for our harm. Everything that He's doing is for our best interest. Okay. Wala yung page ko. Okay. We trust Him because His nature is good. Have Have you ever realized that? Now, why isn't it hard to trust God when His nature is good? Which means that everything that comes from Him is good. Whether our life is not good right now, He is good. Whether our life is not good, something good is gonna come out of that is not good. Okay, we trust Him because He knows things, and we don't. He knows what He's doing, and we don't. We trust Him because He knows the future, and we don't. We trust Him because He knows the outcome already, and we don't. Okay, we trust Him because He knows our heart, and we don't. See, when things don't make sense, we only have one response, and that is to trust the one and only person, okay, who can take our 1% and turn it for our victory. Okay, um, accomplishing God's purpose is not determined by the bottom line of what makes sense. Not all the time. Okay, um, accomplishing the purpose of God is not determined but by what we see in our eyes, or what we feel, or what's on our bank statement, or the extent of our ability, of our power, or the efficiency of our plan. It is not based on the bottom line that we have everything under control, that everything is going the way or we want it to be going. Everything is good the way I planned it. Ayos na, okay, accomplished ako. No, it's not determined by that. Of course, we take care of things, we plan for things, but the truth is, God is looking uh, to glorify Himself here on earth through people who are willing to fully depend on Him. Okay, He wants to use those moments so that we can depend on Him, so that we can believe that He is with us, that He is doing something great, and us, because we trust God, we are ready to rock and roll. Okay, so pakisabi sa katabi mo, I'm ready to rock and roll. Because
I'm
my
ready
trust
to
is in God.
roll.
Diba? When you trust somebody who is trustworthy, you're ready to go with that person, diba? Para bang, okay, I trust that person, let's go, let's fight, diba? Parang ganun. So the same thing with God. So but see, God does not need majority vote from us, okay, to be able to bring our victory. He actually does not need us to bring victory in our lives, but He wants and He invites us to join with Him. He invites us to do His will. He invites us to trust Him. He invites us to rely on Him through the weaknesses in our lives, through the 1% in our lives, because when we do that, we reap the benefits. Okay, and then He gets the glory, because we know that hindi tayo yun. I did not make my 1% 100%. There's no way I could do that. But God can do that always and all the time. See, when God does not make sense, remember this. Okay, He's up to something good. Okay? Parang yung kanta, Tell Me Something Good. Ay, yun yun. So pag nasa 1% kayo, kantahan niyo si Lord. Lord, show me something good. Because I know, I trust you, Lord, you're going to show me something good. Okay, He's doing something with our 1%. Okay, that's why from verse 15 and following, di na natin babasahin. You could read that maybe later. But I'm going to tell you what happened. Okay, this is now the moment. This is it. Okay, this is the moment that God will show Gideon what He can do with 300. See, parang sinabi ni Lord kay Gideon, all right, now you trusted me. Okay, wala na ako narinig na complain, na question. You trusted me with 300. Even if alam ko, nasa isip mo, it does not make sense, Lord, but you trusted me. So God now, what happened is, um, uh, Gideon saw, okay, how when he led the 300 men, okay, taking on many men, 135,000 men, and this time he was no longer running away, he was not hiding, but rather he was running right into what is truly dangerous situation in the human perspective. Because I don't know about you, just imagine, okay, watching a battle with 300 men, 300 men against 135,000 men. Para bang hindi mo na kailangan isipin kung sino mananalo, 'di ba? Parang okay, given na 'to. Okay, talo si 300. Okay? But see, again, God works in different ways. God works in so mysterious ways. Gideon was going against all odds here because he knows that his God of the 1% is behind this plan. Okay, and so because he trusted God, God showed Gideon what he could do with 1%. God gave Gideon and the nation of Israel victory through the strangest, weirdest battle plan in all history. Okay, parang ang we can actually even say uh, when the going gets weird, okay, watch God move. Okay, parang ganun eh. So I love this. You know, God gave Gideon and the people of Israel victory through the strangest, weirdest, does not make sense battle plan in all history. So the 300 went confidently against 135,000 men with trumpets. Okay, nagtutugan sila ng trumpets, not with sword. They were not carrying swords, by the way. Okay? Again, it does not make sense, right? It didn't say in the scripture that God commanded Gideon not to carry swords, but I believe that that is the trust that Gideon had with God. Okay, that he said, we're just going to worship God. Okay, we're just going to do this by worshiping God and acknowledging God. So they went with torches, not with bows and arrows and jars. Okay, so God sent, what happened is God sent confusion into the enemy so that they began attacking each other. So probably the Lord made it sounded to them like na parang millions ang dating nila Gideon just from the sound of the trumpets and the shout. Kasi sabi doon, that the Lord, that the Gideon commanded the people that you when we blow the trumpet and then break the jars and then yung torches, fired up the torches, we are to shout for the Lord and for Gideon. And I think that's the time when God turned things around. The 300 men sounded like a million men. Okay, so what happens is natatakot yung kalaban. They were so confused. Okay, and then ganun din ang gagawin ni Lord sa sa enemies natin. They're gonna get confused. Okay, because when we start worshiping God, the enemy gets so confused and the enemy is gonna go running away. Okay, that's why when we are in our 1%, worship God. The more we are to worship God, the less we have, the more we are to worship God. The lowest we are, the more we are to give Him His highest. Okay, and so what happens in that? 120,000 Midianites were killed at that moment, and the rest of the 15,000 fled. They went running away. See, the people of Israel didn't even have to lay a hand on even 1% of their enemy. All they had to do was to just trust God and watch what God can do through them and in them. Okay, so God answered Israel's prayer through the most odd way. And today, He is the same God yesterday, today, and forever. And He's also going to answer us sometimes in the most odd way. Yung hindi natin na-expect, bigla na lang sasagot si Lord in the ways that, wow, talaga, Lord, parang ganon. Because He wants to, He wants to awe us. You know, He wants us to go, Lord, grabe ka talaga. You are just so amazing. Okay, God, answered their prayer in a way that does not make sense, and their victory came from God's unusual way. So to conclude, it did not make sense when He called a farmer to deliver the nation of Israel from their enemy. It did not make sense when their victory came from 300 men. It did not make sense that the ratio was 450 to 1. 1% did not make sense at that time, but the God of 1% made all things possible. Luke 18:27, with what is impossible with man is super possible with God. So whatever it is in your life right now that seems impossible, whatever 1% you have in your life right now, God can turn that around because He is the God of the impossible. So if you feel weak right now, you're at your lowest, you don't understand why you're feeling this way, you woke up at the wrong side of the bed, or you woke up at the wrong season in your life, you're going through a season that you don't understand now what's going on, why do I have to go through this season? You're questioning God why He's allowing this to happen in your life. Why are the things in life, you know, can things in life be better, Lord? Why does it have to be this hard? It's so unreasonable. The odds are against you, and you only have 1% in your side. This is good news. Because if you are that person that you have only 1%, that is um, the exact place where God is going to show you what He can do with 1%. Okay? Our answer, our breakthrough, our victory can come in the most unusual way. So when God does not make sense, He is on the move. Again, tell the person next to you, when God does not make sense, He's on the move. He's making something good. Okay, He's showing something good, and what He can do with our weakness, what He can do in our lowest, the things that does not make sense. So He'll take that 1% to and bring us our victory, bring us our breakthrough. See, God is always doing His part. Another thing that we have to remember, God is always doing His part. He's not going to stop doing His part. Okay? He's always doing the end of the deal. Okay? Our part now is to have faith. Our part now is to speak faith, even if we don't feel faith. Even if we don't see faith, even if we don't feel faith, we are to keep moving forward with expectation that God will reveal more of Himself to us. So again, what is your 1%? Look at your 1% and tell your 1%, you are just 1%. I know you're small, but God is doing something great with my 1%. And with whatever does not make sense to you right now, trust God and watch what He can do with what does not make sense in your life. Yeah, so tell me something good.
Thank you, Sis Mick, for that inspiring words again tonight. We're looking forward every